Okay, welcome to another module in your web design and development course. In this module, we'll be talking about wireframing. My name again is Akinfademi Adebowale. Now, what is wireframing, or what we call it a wireframe? A wireframe basically talks about the structure of your website, your ability to draw out some elements that defines how your website will look like. If you go to the basic example, which will look at a house, for you to build a house, you need to come up with an architectural drawing. This drawing is to guide how things will be done even in this new project, which is the house. The same thing applies to website development or website design, as the case may be. So in this module, we'll be trying to explore the things that wireframe is all about and try to understand the details how wireframe helps with our project or is being done to ensure that a smooth running project. Now, designing and developing website works across multiple devices, and it's important for us to ensure that these designs fit into those screens as expected. We are in a generation whereby people move a lot with their mobile devices. So if you are designing a website, you need to consider the people that use their mobile devices, the people on their PC, the people on their tablets and various other screens, maybe even a television. So this is an important part for you in this course. You need to understand how wireframing works effectively. Now, wireframing basically is a guide. It's a virtual guide that represents the framework of a website. When I say virtual guide here, I mean it's a guide that helps you to look at what you want to design, what you want to program. But first thing you need to do is, okay, can I put them into a sketch to understand how the design itself will work? So Wireframe gives you that capacity for you to understand how the website will work. Say it's a framework. So wireframes are created for the purpose of arranging our elements to best accomplish a particular purpose. So we have various elements, for example, our image, our text, our video, our buttons. How do you arrange them together to ensure they work? You can't just wake up and put up your website and start designing. The wireframe work will give you a guide, so we call it a virtual guide. Now, it's a skeletal framework. It means it deals with basic 2D drawings. You can just put up the drawing. You don't need to put styling. You don't need to consider your CSS. You don't even need to consider the programming language you will use. You don't need to decide whether it's going to be a static or a dynamic site at this point. It's basically drawing out things. We say it's also known as a page structural layout or a blueprint that guides you to design your website. Now, this is important for us to focus on the layout and the content placement. So if you look at the screen below, you see that this is an example here and it's showing the layout, basically what the website will look like and to solve our navigation problem. A lot of websites, you get there, it's difficult to navigate. All these can be traced back to the basic fundamental of wireframing design. Now, I'm going to look at some of the benefits of using a wireframe, trying to focus more on some of the benefits when it comes to building your website or working on a website project. Now, I said it is extremely important for your website design when you're coming to development phase to understand wireframe, but I'm going to go into details of some of these basic things that wireframe will help you do. Number one thing that wireframe will do is to bring clarity to your project. Now, when you're working on a project, one of the things you want to understand is the clarity, how this project will interact, how every element on the page will interact, allowing you to work with interaction and layout. How will this, when I click on this element, what happens next? When I click on this, what happens next? That is the beauty of having a wireframe design. So when you see your wireframe design, you can easily interpret it to give you a good project. So it gives you clarity on your project. The next thing wireframes will help you to do is to help your team or your client to think about what they really need. Sometimes clients come to you with a bogus project and they say, oh, I want this to work this way, I want this to work that way. But sometimes they do not clearly understand how these features will work. So when you design a wireframe and you give to them, they can think about it. Okay, based on this design, I don't want the header here. I want the header to be on this left hand side. different from just an audio or a discussion where they don't have anything to see. So a wireframe helps them to have a better understanding of what they want to achieve. The next thing it will help you to do is to ensure that design changes are done in a more effective and easier way. Because at this point, it's just a sketch. You're just drawing on a piece of paper. So if there's a mistake or the client is not satisfied or your team members, oh, can we move this to this place? It's easier to make changes. So a wireframe helps you to do what? Effective changes. Even when the project is live, we can always run back to the wireframe design to look at those things that we need to adjust, not just trying to make changes on the go on the project. So the wireframe guides your changes. Now, wireframe ensure that your navigation is better, is designed in a better and a more structural way. If you look at the image I put below, you see that for every phase of the project, for every angle that we're working with on the project, the wireframe structure is there. So if you click on screen 1, it takes you to this. So it helps to guide even your development team. So when you give this to your fellow team member, even those of them working remotely, they can easily interpret and tell what will happen based on the design. Another thing the wireframe will help you to do is to have effective communication among the team members. Because we are not working with just a project documentation, I'm sure you know what a project documentation is. So your project documentation is that detailed document, a guide that talks about what will happen on a project, and that is converted into a wireframe. Now with the wireframe, we can easily understand, the design team can easily understand, oh, based on this wireframe, this is what we're supposed to have here. So communication is easily done here, unlike just having a project documentation that somebody might assume something and you assume something else, and at the end of the day we are not getting the project to the right design. We're not getting the right design for this project. So your wireframe will help you to have effective communication as a team. Another thing it will help you to do is to have what we call a more design friendly environment. It makes your content development more design friendly, because we know what you have already from the content project documentation. You know we are going to have videos, you know we're going to have text, we're going to have some materials to download. You can now align those things based on your wireframe design. So your content design structure will be much more better than just designing things without having a guide. Remember, the wireframe is a guide to help you when designing. So when you're putting your content in place, it makes your design very, very good. I'm sure we've enjoyed this layer model so far. Now, it's important to have the wireframe at the back of your mind when thinking of a website or a web page. It is very, very key. So if you're thinking of how to put those elements, you can quickly sketch out a wireframe work. Always remember that simplicity is key when it comes to wireframing. You are not focusing on the applications. You're not focusing on, oh, how will it work on this screen? How is going to, you're just trying to put a basic 2D layout as much as possible. A two-dimensional layout. Just drawing the shapes, drawing the object, representing the download button, representing the image icon. All those things are elements that you need to understand. There are various elements, various icons, various things that we use when designing wireframe work. But the most important thing is that wireframing is a basic structural design of your website. I'll see you in the next module. I will talk more about how to make your website go live and ready. Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful day.